you get people to know that you are live tonight?
I put a little post up on YouTube, and then YouTube will also notify people when we do like schedule a live. We're still new at it. I think we're getting better. Are we live now, Justin?
The cool thing
We're
is,
live.
We're live.
Debbie, I think you boys can record this, so it'll be able to be shared again.
Yeah, so yeah, the cool thing is it'll exist on YouTube afterwards, so people they can go and watch it and basically see that interaction where people can ask questions. But we'll get going. So yeah, awesome. Appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us again live. We've got Debbie. If you want to switch over to Debbie and show her. Hey, Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, Debbie.
So thank you for coming on. She's a realtor on our team, and she lives in the villages. So not only is she specialized in real estate in villages, but she's a resident. So we're going to have you guys ask questions about the villages and try to get them answered. And I'll just be kind of reading off the phone here as we go through these.
Okay.
But this will be fun. How long have you lived in the villages? We'll give people a second to kind of add comments.
I moved into the villages in 2006, and actually I had a job for the developer as a computer programmer, and I used to program the tee times for all the golf courses in the villages.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a very interesting start, which I learned all about the villages through that office, because I also managed the Tee Times office, the golf administrative offices. And we had a team of we had a staff of about 20. And they would answer the phones and ask questions, answer questions for our residents about the tee time system, how to make tee times and changing pin numbers and that kind of thing. So that was very interesting. And I did that for about 7 years. And then I got my real estate license and started to sell real estate, which is what I really love to do. But it was a great background. So I've lived in the villages since 2006, and we've had 2 houses in the villages.
Yeah, and this is kind of a fun story. So, and actually one of the first questions that came up from AJ Wells, hi Debbie, what section do you live in? So if you want to kind of explain where you're at, and then
Hi AJ. So AJ, I live near Belglade Country Club, which is the village of LaBelle North. It's kind of like right in the middle of the villages. When we started out, we lived in Largo, which was real close to Lake Sumter Landing. We had a smaller house. We had to move my mom in with us, so we needed a bigger house. So that's the only reason that we moved. We did love that other house, but we just needed a bigger house. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, and it was interesting because you had mentioned it to us that they just started building a 4-bedroom home in, did you say 2015?
2015 is when they started building what they called a Putnam. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Ours has a 2-car garage with a golf cart garage, and we're on a corner. So it's the living square feet is about 200. Yeah. Or I'm always bad at that, 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's a nice size house, and it gives my mom ample room to have 2 rooms to herself with her own bathroom with a privacy entrance. And then we kind of have the rest of the house. And then of course, remember how important the man cave is. And that's what saves my marriage, right? So Wade has a man cave. That's my husband. And so that's why we really bought the house. It's a great layout, great layout.
And you obviously have a golf cart.
Oh, yes.
yeah, you can't be
We actually have 2 golf carts.
That's awesome.
His and hers?
We use them for a variety of things. Sometimes my mom has hers, I have ours, and we have a 4-seater so that when the grandkids come up, they love riding on the golf cart. That's like, if you ask them what they want to do, they want to go for a golf cart ride.
Nice. I'll butt out now, but I just have to say your dogs probably take a ride on the golf cart too.
Oh my gosh, every night.
It's
And
so
after
cute. The
dinner,
dogs
they
love the
sit there
golf cart
and they-
just as much.
They stare at us, and while we're eating dinner, they stare at us because right after dinner, we have to get in the golf cart and take them for their ride.
That's awesome. All right, we got a couple hellos. Peggy M from Baltimore. Hello, Peggy. I always butcher these names. Jay Mannon from Massachusetts, snowy Massachusetts. Hello. All right, how difficult is it to find resale homes to purchase now?
Right now, our market is very slim. You all know that you really should have a realtor that can show you anything that you would find on realtor.com or Zillow. Then you should also have a Villages sales agent who can show you anything that the Villages has on their resources. It's called the VLS. That way you'll be exposed to everything. But right now we're running at like about 125 homes total in the Villages as a resale every day. But they go pretty fast. They don't last long on the market at all.
Well, and I have to just interject to that. That sounds like a lot, but when you have 80,000 homes, that's almost like having no listings.
Oh, we're up to 145,000
Homes or, oh my gosh.
homes.
That's wild.
Well, I was obviously stuck in the past there for a minute.
It's crazy.
Well,
they,
see, so
they
that-
do
then
know
that
how
really
to build
is-
houses, and they do it well.
Wow,
They
and that-
really do.
Yeah. Now, there will always come along listings, so it's important if anybody decides the Villages is it to stay in contact with a realtor, because with the moment it comes on, you get notified and you're kind of ready to roll. But you know, you don't want to be on
Yes.
resting on your laurels because you'll never get one.
Right. Exactly. If you know what you like, if you know the model that you like, if you know even the area that you like, we can pretty much narrow that down in what we call a drip campaign. So I can be sending you houses in your price range, in your area, and narrow it down to almost your model. I can go by square footage. And then as soon as you see something that you think you like, know that there's going to be at least a dozen other people thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So you got to be Johnny on the spot.
And have your ducks in the row with your financing or whatever.
Oh, yes.
So, all right, we got one from John Nay. Are all the gates manned or are they automated with codes?
We have some of the gates are manned, but they are by far, they are not guard gates. So what those people are there for are in case you would get lost or if you need help in any way, shape, or form, that's what those people are there for. We all, as residents, have a gate key. They're about the size of a credit card and they're solid white, and you can flash those and the gate goes up. But if you don't have one of those, you can push the red button and the gate goes up. The only difference is when you push the red button, it takes a picture of your license plate, just as an extra safety measure. So these gates, we are not a privately gated community, and there's good reasons for that. In Florida, when you are a private community, the residents are responsible for the upkeep of the roads. And that would be really a heavy burden on the residents, as you can almost imagine. So we
Especially
pay,
in the Villages, it's so much
Yeah.
road.
there is a lot of roads, right? But it is, I mean, it's really interesting how they built the communities. Most of the communities are one way in and one way out. So it kind of detours, bad people from coming in, if that makes sense. And even though the gates are easily open, not everybody knows that. And it's kind of a deterrent still. So I think it's a good thing. It keeps the cost down for us living here. We do pay a maintenance fee once a year in the form of an assessment on our tax bill. And that's so that we are never assessed anytime any of the infrastructure, meaning the roads, the curbs, the sidewalks, anything like that needs repaired, which is good. But we are not a true gated community.
Yeah. One and when we went recently, um, we met with some folks that work with us, Holly and Peter. Shout out to Holly and Peter.
Hey, Holly and Peter.
But the golf cart path into their neighborhood was right behind the gate too. So it was just like it was nice that it
Mhm.
slowed people down in that
Yes,
intersection
it
too.
does. It does for sure.
All right, so do, 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 do. Ellen V, hi from CT. Have friends in the villages and thinking of moving about 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
reach out when you come down. This is a good question from Laura Roz. Just joining now, curious on your opinion on the manufactured homes. Are they worth the investment? If in good shape, will they last long? They're so much more affordable.
They are affordable up front, but unfortunately, manufactured homes take a lot of TLC. They take a lot of upkeep. About every 10 years, you're going to have the subflooring replaced because that subflooring is exposed from the bottom and the top. So it tends to deteriorate. You constantly have to keep your eye on the roof, even though they're metal roofs. The bolts where they get adhered to the house itself need resealed every 5 years, and they are a lot of work. They are a lot of work, and there's a lot of things you can't tell, like around the toilets. If the seals would break, it's very difficult to know that because gravity takes place and everything falls down. So you're not going to see that. Nothing goes sideways, goes down, and it tends to rot out before you even know it. So they are a lot of upkeep, but there are people that are good with that and they feel that it's still a good bargain because no matter what house you buy, you're going to have repairs. But just know going into a manufactured home, you're going to have a little bit more repairs and you're going to have to keep your eye on things. The other bad part about manufactured homes is that they do reach a certain age where it is very difficult to get insurance on them. But some people don't seem to mind that. And if you're one of those, then it works for you. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that was perfect. So M has a good question, and I've seen this quite a few times. So, have an autistic child. Would she be able to live with me with her being only a teenager?
The hard, fast rule in Florida for a 55 plus community is that no children under the age of 19 can live with you. You can have children between the ages of 19 and whatever, but nobody younger than 19. So you have to wait until she reaches 19 years of age, and then you can move to the villages.
Awesome.
Yep.
That was perfect.
I'm going to interject while he's looking for the next question. Does the villages require a 20% deposit?
Oh, if you buy a house through the villages, yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do not do VA loans. They don't do FHA loans. They don't do the new conventional loans. You have to have 20% down.
Would
And
that
it
be
is
in their
not
VLS as well?
refundable.
And
Pardon?
non-refundable. Okay.
Yes.
That's the new builds. Is it in the VLS as well? Do they require 20%, or is that just typical resale up to the
That's
seller?
the VLS.
So the VLS requires 20% as well.
Yes.
Okay, and non-refundable.
Yeah.
And that doesn't apply to the MLS?
No.
No, the MLS were a little bit more flexible. Remember, a contract is only good if both parties have agreed on all aspects of the contract. Everybody has signed and everybody has a copy of it, right? So we negotiate. And if we can make everybody happy and help them to come to a good agreement, then that might be a VA loan. We don't see too many FHA loans, but we do see some what they call new conventional loans, where it is like 10% down. So we do see that. And our escrows are not non-refundable unless that's part of the contract. If you get a seller that says, well, I want to make it non-refundable, and if the buyer is okay with that, then we do it. But typically, if they can't obtain financing, then that escrow gets returned to them. Now, if it's a cash deal, when we go into the deal, the contract clearly states that, if the buyer changes their mind, that escrow is non-refundable. Same token with the seller. If the seller changes their mind, they got to refund that escrow. They can't keep it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Edward Pina is asking, does the Villages have houses and townhouses? So does it have
We
townhomes?
do have a small section up by Glenview Country Club, and right behind Spanish Springs, there's a row, and those are townhouses. They're all connected. Some of them are 2-floor, some of them are 1-floor, but they're all connected. And those are the only two places where there are townhouses in the Villages.
Okay, and you can also get a condo. Is that correct?
They're not really considered condos. They're considered villas. The reason they're called villas is that they're connected with a fence.
Okay. Patrick Lee says, so they discriminate against VA loans? That sounds odd. Yeah, that is a good question. Why? Because it's not uncommon too. There's a couple other places where they won't accept VA loans, like On Top of the World.
Well, On Top of the World has that 20% down, and a VA loan
Right.
is 0 down.
Oh, so that's where.
Yes, they
Well,
do discriminate.
Now, here's what a lot of people don't know. In a VA loan, you don't have to have 0% down. If you want to put 20% down and still use your VA benefits, you can.
I'd discuss it
I
with the
found that
lender.
out too. I recently did a VA loan where they wanted to put some money down, and they did. And it just, it lessened their house payment.
So what's sort of what would be the reason that I wouldn't accept the VA loan as one of these communities?
I think with the VA loans, there's a lot of, there's a lot of prepaids that they're not allowed to have. It gets 2 appraisals. It's a little bit more involved. And so I think that's why they don't want to do VA loans. I don't know, because I'm not them. But my sellers don't particularly like it because of that, because we could be well into it. And
there's a ghost in your house.
Yeah, that's the cat. That's the cat. That's Ernie. Ernie from Havana. He came from Havana Country Club. But anyway, yeah, with the VA loan, there's a lot involved with it. And some of the sellers shy away from that because they don't want to keep their house off the market for a long time. And with a VA loan, it usually takes about 30 to 45 days to process. You have to go through the 2 appraisals. And I think that's why most sellers try not to get involved with a VA. But then there's some sellers that don't care. So it depends on the seller.
Yeah. Well, and potentially could appreciate it too. So.
Yeah.
If you are a veteran. So LJ Mansfield, does a cash buyer have an advantage?
In this day and age, it really no, because the deal is that what I've heard from my sellers is that a bank's money spends just as well as a person's money. So, and because the title companies are so backed up, we are not seeing anything close in less than 30 days. And it takes 30 days to process a loan. So there's really, the only advantage is that we don't have to look for that appraisal, so we don't have to worry about the house appraising out. But that would be the only advantage, I think. But most people still like cash, so. But a lot of people seem to think that if they have cash, they can come in under asking, way under asking. And because they're giving you cash, that should be good. Not true. So that the price is still going to be the price because of the market, and it is a seller's market. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Do you see a lot of cash deals in the villages?
I do. I would say 80% of my cash deals or 80% of my sales were cash deals in 2021.
Yeah, that's a huge chunk.
I honestly think there's sellers that will take finance deals, but the thing
Yeah,
about a cash deal is the old saying, cash is king. So they just feel like it's safer once you're past the inspection period that then they get to keep the deposit no matter what with a cash deal. Because an appraisal or a finance deal might fall through last minute for some
right.
crazy reason and they get their escrow back. Where a cash deal, there's no going, once you're past that inspection period, you're locked in.
You're golden.
And
Uh-huh.
also with the villages specifically, and you're saying 80% of the deals that you're seeing are cash. Anyways, it's like
Yeah,
you're kind of where in a general market you might be an outlier. Most people aren't purchasing a home with cash, so you have a cash deal. If it's multiple offers, it may offer some sort of weight, but in the villages you're probably seeing a bunch of cash offers.
Yep.
yes, we are.
So
We're seeing a lot of cash. Even though the interest rates are still really low, we are still seeing a lot of cash buyers.
I think it's because of the multiple offer situation. People feel like they have to go in with cash, even if they go refinance it afterwards and get their cash back. They don't want to.
Oh, yes, and people are being so creative with their offers, which is,
What's your, just out of
sometimes it gets to
curiosity?
be a little bit much, but
Yeah,
they're being very creative with their offers. I will say that. It's all about, getting the seller, to accept their offer. And so there's more than just the price that goes into a good offer. So it's just something that you should talk over with your realtor. And if it's a good realtor, she would know or he would know how to make a good offer for you and go over that with you.
that's right.
all right, Laura Ross again. Do you foresee the Spanish Springs area getting forgotten as the South gets built up more? As
No,
far as
not at
upkeep,
all. Not at all. There is so much to do in in and around all the town squares, but Spanish Springs is very much so loved and it is turning over. So what I'm finding is our attrition is taking place. Way back when Spanish Springs started, those folks were 65 to 70 when they moved in. And so now by now, they're hitting the late 80s, 90s. And so they are either moving into assisted living or they're moving out for some reason. And so that is turning over. And you're seeing younger people come in that are in their 65, 70s, that kind of thing. So no, not at all. Spanish Springs is never going to be forgotten. There's too much that goes on there and it's too cute.
It is. It's super cute. And I do have to say, in general, the culture behind 55 plus communities is the upkeep is, people really take great care no matter
Oh
when
my
they move
gosh,
in.
yes.
They really, and then they keep an eye on everybody else too. So that is
Yes.
probably one of the negatives, maybe, because your neighbor might turn you in if you're doing something wrong.
Oh, sometimes, but I don't find that too many people don't. The big thing is the tchotchkes outside,
Yeah.
like little gnomes or little angels or frogs, bunnies, that kind of thing. We're not supposed to have those in the yard. And very few, you don't see it very often. Every now and then somebody will try to sneak one out, but there's
Well,
always somebody that's going to be the tattletale. And then they just get a letter and ask them to remove it. So it's not a big deal.
well, and if
And you
that's the
have to get
worst thing that
everything that you
happens,
do approved through the ARC. So if you want to do like a big landscaping thing with like a whole bunch of rocks and stuff like that, you got to get that approved anyways.
yep,
Just to make sure that you're, not encroaching on anyone else's property and all that good stuff.
yeah.
So, and most people know that. We don't see a whole lot of problems there.
so John Nay, I think I understand the question. Do the villages have a right to not approve a sale of a home to a buyer?
Buyers have to be approved, I guess is the question.
Is that a question? Do the villages have a right to not approve a sale of a home to a buyer?
Right.
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk for the developer, but I can say that whenever you're in any type of a offer situation, we know as realtors that all of our buyers either have to be pre-approved for their loan and have that pre-approval letter hot in their hands, or they have to have proof of funds showing us where is that money coming from. And that's with any offer across the board. And I wouldn't think that the villages would be any different.
So, Debbie, so let me ask you this, though. For an HOA application, most communities have to fill out an HOA application and then be approved. That doesn't happen in the villages in order to prove you're
No.
55 plus, I guess.
Because we're not an HOA, we are a CDD, totally different. We have deed restrictions that put the restriction of the age on us.
And so the title company would catch that if they weren't of age trying to buy a house?
Well, anybody can buy the house, but it's who lives in the house. Okay, that's the thing. It's who's going to live in the house, because there are investment people that buy houses here in the villages and they rent them out. And there are children that buy the house for their parents. The house is in their name, but their parents live in it.
So how do they control that, if you don't mind me asking? And I'm getting off their topics, but how do they control that? If J. Michael bought me a house in there and I moved in, but how does anybody know who's living there? Maybe he's living there. Of course, he's 24, so I guess it wouldn't.
When you go to get your ID, that would be a big clue. But
And
most of
everybody
us
has
as
to have an
realtors
ID?
know to ask all the questions first. You know, what are you going to do if I get an investor, and I do have a handful of investors that buy properties and then rent them out. You know, that was my first question. What do you intend on doing with this property? You know, because you're kind of young. And so they said, you know, they intended on using it as an income property, and go over the rules. You know that there's deed restrictions that, you know, you have to rent to 55 plus, nobody under the age of 19, that kind of thing. And yeah, they're good with that. And then if it's a child buying it for the parent, I go over how they have to, what they have to do so that their parent can get an ID card so that they can use all the amenities, because there's a process.
I see. So that's how they figured out, by having that ID card.
Right. And that would be the big deterrent. Yeah.
So just a real quick question on top of that one. So you mentioned investors and then using them as income, and that's because the villages allows short-term rentals. Yes?
Yes. Short-term and long-term.
Yes, and that's not necessarily a thing in a lot of these communities. They only allow like a 7-month minimum.
Right.
Some of the Leesburg communities have some short-term rentals, but the villages is kind of known that people, can they do nightly or weekly, or does it have to be,
Sure,
what's
they
the minimum?
can if they want to.
Okay,
Sure
so
they
the
can.
rentals are options.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. How safe is it to buy from afar? So if you're thinking about,
Say that again.
how safe is it to buy from afar? So sight unseen. Do you see a lot of that?
I can tell you that probably 50% of the houses that I sold this year were bought sight unseen.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing. Because usually they'll contact me, I develop a rapport with them, and I tell them up front, I just have to be able to know you real well, to know what you want, to find what you want. And when we find it, I'm going to do a video for you live, and we'll walk all the way through the house. You ask me any questions. If you want me to put the camera under the sink, I'll do that. And that's pretty much how I do it. And I've had great success with that. I haven't had one customer come down to see the house that they buy or bought and were disappointed. Everyone's been very happy.
I have to say, as kind of a CYA disclosure, it's not recommended, but if you're going to do that because of the lack of inventory, make sure you trust your agent, and then have an inspection
Make sure
period.
you know
and if
that agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have
a good rapport.
Yes, a good rapport, and then you've got an inspector that can do the inspection within a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Trust that professional. If you have a friend or relative that can pop in and get their eyes on it, that's always good
Yes.
too. Yeah, but that's you just have to be make sure you know your realtor.
And most of these people have been here.
Yeah,
So they
that's
know
true.
what model they want. They know the things that they want, like I want white cabinets, I don't want carpet, or I want to be within X amount of miles from Lake Sumter Landing or Spanish Springs or whatever the case may be. As long as your realtor can hone in on all that stuff, it's not a bad thing. It really isn't, because it's going to help you get a house.
Yep.
All right, sorry, hold on. I'm just trying to find my spot back here. Oh, how many different subdivisions are located in the villages? And
Oh my gosh.
And who would we
So-
contact to look at the ones for sale?
The subdivision. Well, you wouldn't buy a subdivision, you'd just be buying a house. You can go on, to get maps, you can go on districtgov.org, and there's maps on there, so you can kind of get an idea of the area, and you can get a breakdown of the villages by going to thevillages.com. They have a big map, and they'll have all the sections or all the villages listed. Both places, districtgov.org or thevillages.com.
Awesome.
And of
then,
course,
you can always reach out to us.
I was gonna
Hello at
say,
Explore
plug
55
us,
Plus.
yep.
Or if you go to the website and you can get in contact directly with Debbie through the website as well. Just
Yeah.
the form selecting the villages, and
which is
she'll be on
Explore
there.
55 Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case
But that
somebody's hopping in but don't know.
districtgov.org is a great website, because you can get so much information, because it is strictly for the villages, community, district development, and the VCDD. And so it answers so many questions.
That's good to
You
know.
can't even begin to know. It's a wealth of knowledge.
Beautiful. All right, let's do like two more real quick. What do you think?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Maybe three. Maybe let's throw a bonus in there.
Okay.
Three more questions. So this is a good one. Do any houses in the villages offer solar energy?
There are some people that have put solar panels on their roof. You see them more with the houses that have pools. A lot of people will use solar energy to heat their pools, but it's not something that is a standard, and you don't see many. I will say that. There is a community just on the outskirts of the villages that is a multi-generational, called Villages, Green Key Villages. That's what it's called. And those houses are solar powered, but in the villages, not so much.
Well, and that's not a bad reason to reach out to a realtor like Debbie or somebody on our team, because it's not just the villages you can sell. You can sell the communities outside, and then you
Correct.
still have access to all the shopping and restaurants in the villages, even if you're not actually a villager.
Right.
Cool. So this is a good question. LJ Mansfield, is a lifestyle visit worth the time, or should I stay in a hotel? Can you pick the location of the lifestyle visit? I'm coming in from California in early 2022 to check out the villages. Thanks.
Unfortunately, you can't pick out the area that you want to stay in the lifestyle visit, as far as I know. You could always call and ask. You don't have to book online. There's a phone number there, and you should be able to call and ask if they have availability in a certain section in the villages. But I highly recommend the villages lifestyle visit, because then you're going to get the feel of what it is like to live in the villages, because they put you in a house or a villa in the villages, and they give you a golf cart, and they give you a couple of bikes. It's a wonderful experience, and I just highly recommend that.
So would you suggest doing a lifestyle visit over maybe just finding someone who's independently, renting their house out short term and has a golf cart?
No, you could do that too, because that's going to get you the experience you're looking for. I would do whatever is more economical. That's what I would look for. I know that VRBO has a lot of the villages, private owners, where they advertise a lot. So just compare prices because you're going to get about the same experience and you'll be inside the villages.
Do you have if I rented a house from someone independently putting it up for rent, it had the golf cart and everything. Would I be able to access the amenities? Can you pass along?
Yes, because they can still get you what's called a renter ID.
Mm. Okay, so they have that set up.
And that's how you prove you're 55 too. You got to get that
Yeah.
renter's ID.
Gotcha.
So this
Yeah.
is an interesting thought, and I'll throw this out there for folks. So you literally could, if you had a house with a golf cart and a couple of bikes, if you wanted to, you could get a shuttle from the airport to the villages. And is there a bus service around the villages? I mean, if somebody didn't have a car but they had a golf cart and bikes, would that be sufficient?
I think if you just had a golf cart and bikes, I think that would be sufficient. Now, if you stayed clear down in the new part, it would be, you still could do it with a golf cart. It would just take you a long time because those golf carts don't go very fast.
Yeah, that's a
But
long
you could still
ride.
come up to Brownwood. Hmm.
Awesome.
That's just a thought, because some people may want to just fly in, hop on
Yeah.
the village.
Unfortunately, we don't have any public transportation, but I don't know that there is really a need for it.
No, just stay away from those outer edges, because that is a long golf cart ride.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I think that was only two, honey. You got one more.
Well, no, I think
We're done?
we're done. We might be done.
Wow.
Well, that was a great
got-
attendance, everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining
Woo!
us.
Yeah, and thank you, guys. We have some really nice comments. Justin, did you have to kick anybody out of the
No, clean comment section.
clean comments?
Oh,
Wow.
thank you.
That's so
Thank
awesome.
you, everybody. Yeah.
The last one we did, we had a couple trolls in there. That's
Well-
awesome.
So one thing I know people ask about, and I'll just throw this as the last question because you love your dogs and your cats. What's your pet
Oh.
restriction in the villages?
Good question.
Here's what I'll end with this because this is what my husband says. When he dies, he wants to come back to the villages as a dog.
That's awesome. But do you have a number of pet restrictions per household?
I think that there is a soft restriction, but I don't know of it ever being enforced. And I would think that it would be if it's a problem. I mean, you're not allowed to run a
Puppy farm.
what do they call it, an adoption program out of your house, but I've seen people with 4 little dogs. I've seen people with 3 little dogs. I've seen people with numerous cats, because the cats stay in the house, so how's anybody going to know, right? But I really haven't seen any cases, and I haven't heard of any cases where people really abuse it. There's no limitation on size. I get asked that a lot. I have a German Shepherd. Am I allowed to have it? Of course you are. Or I have a Great Dane. Is that prohibited? No. We've even seen those. What are those Irish Wolfhounds? I've seen Irish Wolfhounds at the square,
And that was
and
actually
those
the
are
pet.
big dogs.
I was going to make a joke, but I better not. All right. Well, gosh, that was really good, and that was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Debbie, for doing this. We really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. We know you're busy all day, so to take your time, we sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
Thank
everybody,
you
All
so
right,
much.
Real quick, too, for everyone watching, if this was helpful, I think what we might do is take popular communities that you guys are interested in, and do a live Q&A. So if you're interested in something like that, let us know in the comments section or even in other videos and stuff what communities you are interested in seeing, and we'll do this. We'll bring someone on and do live Q&A.
yeah, or send
But-
us an email at hello@explore55plus.com.
Yeah, and you guys know the drill at this point, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, reach out, hello@explore55plus, or you can give us a call, email, website.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Debbie.
Bye, everyone.
Merry Christmas season, Debbie.
Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Bye.
Nice work, man.
Did you cut it off?
All right. Did we get a